Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be doing kind of just like a random thoughts video of things that I've been thinking about, kind of pertaining to groups and kind of, whether it be lifestyle groups or groups relating to your culture or subcultures or whatever the case may be. And I feel like there are always some times when sometimes people take it maybe a bit too far. I was thinking about this because I consider myself parts of different communities. I'm vegan, I'm child-free, I'm goth. I guess those are some of the big ones. People will go into communities because they have a way of thinking that's different from like a lot of people, or they have an interest that's different from most of the population, and sometimes they go into these communities thinking that, like, okay, everybody else out there is kind of sheeple, and this is like this community that's like, okay, this is unique, right? And like, for example, I became vegan like 6 years ago or something, and it was a choice that I had made based on research that I had done, right? And also what people were saying, like what I saw online and different things like that. And so I became a part of this kind of vegan community, and I was talking to other vegans and things like that. And I found that very quickly I started to adopt the mindset of, vegans are like, if you're not vegan, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you vegan? You're a terrible person. How can you not see this? And it's like almost trying to indoctrinate other people, or kind of like, sorry, I got a phone call now, I have no idea where I was. But basically, when I became vegan, it was kind of like this whole movement that a lot of people were acting like they were the superior group and they were right, and that, everybody else is like a sinner and needs to be saved, and it was kind of that type of mentality, I think, instead of just, giving people information if they so chose to have it. It was a very unhealthy way of looking at things, and now I think of it a lot differently, and I don't think that, just because you're vegan, you're morally superior to other people. It doesn't make any sense. There are different viewpoints about eating animal products, and I respect that. Just because I believe a certain thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's right, and I think that's something that's important to think about, because people get into these groups because they want to feel like they're a part of community and feel like they can connect with people, and they also want to sometimes feel like, a lot of times people think their way is the best way. Like, this is the best thing, without even thinking of facts, right? And so, while they're trying to get away from the sheeple, in this group, they become, like, all thinking the same way, too. And there's not discussion. Like, if you try to say something different from what the general consensus is, it's like, no, you're wrong. You're booted out, even if you fit the definition of what a vegan is. And so, like, for instance, if you say, oh, I'm a vegan, but I don't know, eat GMOs or something, right? And then there's a lot of people that are like, well, you can't be really vegan because you really don't care about, like, I don't know, food. You don't care about how food's made or something like that. So you're not really vegan. When in fact you are really a vegan because you don't consume animal products. It has nothing to do with whether your food is genetically modified or not. People can have different views on that, but it's like the general community is like, oh, don't listen to them. They don't have the right viewpoint. Now, obviously, if you go in and you say, I'm vegan, oh yeah, but I eat fish once a week, then obviously you don't fit the definition of vegan. And so you can't label yourself as a vegan. And so, things like that. And then, like, I'm part of the child-free community. And you know, there's a lot of weird viewpoints sometimes, I think, when I've been discussing things with people on different, like, Facebook groups and stuff having to do with being child free. And there are some things that I think are really kind of, like, a lot of people believe in that group of people that I'm just like, wow, like, that is pretty extreme. And it's something kind of like you have to be careful of it. You might get too far carried away um, if you let what people are saying dictate what you believe instead of examining it for yourself. I think it's important to look at a community and just like have it as a way to talk to people about things that you might have in common, but also not, you know, try to just take on the mindset of a group because, you know, you must be wrong if you're one of few people saying it, because majority doesn't really matter in terms of rightness. Anyway, so the child-free community, people have had discussions like, do you think people should be allowed to have kids or like more than a certain number of children? And there have been a lot of people that have said, I think that there should be like mandatory sterilization after one child or things like that. And I'm just like, that is crazy. In my opinion, I don't think you should be forcing that kind of thing onto people. It just seems like a very like kind of extremist way of looking at it for me. You know how there's this cultural practice in the United States of infant males being circumcised after birth, which I don't agree with, honestly. There's a lot of disagreement with that already that's starting to rise. It's like saying that all adult males over 18 should be circumcised mandatorily. That's the same fucking thing as if you were to say, oh, people should be mandatorily sterilized after they have one kid. It's like, that's like bodily autonomy, people. All this stuff, it kind of shocked me. They were, you know, advocating all these rights for women and things like that. And then they're saying that people should be mandatorily sterilized. Like, okay. I think this also kind of in the same way happens with the goth community. I've seen a lot of videos recently about can you be goth without listening to goth music? And I agree with a lot of the responses that people have made. And thank you guys for posting that, because I'm glad there's people being honest and coming forth about this kind of thing, because I think it's important. And I agree that goth is a music-based subculture. People should not label themselves as goth, or it doesn't make sense to label yourself as goth if you don't listen to goth music, because it's like that's what it is. And so I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, there are people that say, hey, you're an elitist if, you know, you say goth is music-based lifestyle, and even though that's a definition. But then there are also people that are actually elitist that are saying, oh, if you don't listen to this band every day, you're not goth. If you don't wear these types of clothes, you're not goth. If you don't wear black every day, you're not goth. And all these types of things that they're just kind of creating these rules of goth. That's like, oh, this is what I think goth is. So if you don't follow this, then in my eyes, you're not really goth. Sorry. So I guess this was very disorganized. I am sorry. I am not thinking very, like, I guess my point is, if you're a part of a group and you feel like you're being led in a certain direction, even though it's not really what the group is about, or really what it's not allowing any discussion, like free discussion on the topic. It like shuts people down when they try to share their opinion. That is not something that you want to be a part of. At least that's not something that I would want to be a part of. and it doesn't encourage people to actually talk rationally about things. It's kind of it's controlling, really. So I'm just trying to, like, give my thoughts on the topic, because I know that this is what happens sometimes, and this is what happened to me with veganism for a while. Just kind of, being very vegan police-like, and it's really not, helping people at all. It's just trying to kind of fuel your ego and fuel the kind of power that a group might feel from it. So those are kind of my all over the place thoughts for today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.